All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Family's Little Way. This is a podcast that we've been dreaming about, I think, and that we have finally um, put our hearts into starting, which I think it's the hardest part in any project.
Yeah.
When you're cleaning your house, when you have a closet that's it's just full of stuff, you don't even know where to begin. I feel like the hardest part and the most important part is starting. And that's what we're doing today. And
Yes.
it's, I guess what we're feeling is a combination of happiness. We're also a little bit nervous, but it's a good kind of nervous, kind of like before a big test that you've studied for so hard and then you feel the light just turned off. All right.
Episode 1.
Episode 1, we'll let it ride. Um so this is what this is, just a project that we've been dreaming about, and I don't know how you feel about today being day 1 and this being episode 1.
I'm really excited because I feel like we've been wanting a project to do together in our marriage, and we have been stirring in our heart starting a podcast together for a long time. We've had the equipment, we have the cameras, but we didn't really feel like we knew exactly how or what or where. And it's kind of cool that we're taking this leap of faith, and we hope that whatever stuff we talk about, topics, um, things we share together as a family will hopefully inspire other families. So our podcast, we chose a family's little way. I feel like that's kind of like very us.
Yeah, and I think one of the many things that prompted this project, this podcast, is us just listening to people talk about us. Sometimes we wouldn't even be expecting it, and we're not raising our kids or living our marriage so that anyone would have a certain opinion about us. But when you live life differently, um, for some reason, and I think Matthew Kelly says this, but holiness is attractive. And by that, I'm not saying that we are just the most, holy family, but it's what
All the opposite.
right. But it is what we're striving for.
But we are trying to get better in moving towards that direction.
And every major decision that we make in our lives is, we make sure that it's moving towards holiness. Whatever it is, whether it is work, dreams, place to live, the whole schooling or homeschooling in this case, everything, every major decision, we make sure that it's getting us closer to where we want to be, which is being a holy family, the best way that we can. And we are by no means perfect, but we don't want to be. We don't want to be a perfect family. We're very far from it. But what we're trying to do here is, in our lives is just, let our light shine.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of been like the motivation for this podcast also. We have it here around here, let your light shine. And I think that we all have a little light to shine, and it might be different for everyone. And in each family has a different family culture. But I think God wants us to like come together and like and share our stories and what we've been learning and growing, and maybe it could help others. So just as we are very open to listen to other families that inspire us, like I think that'll be fun in this podcast, that we can like maybe also like have other families on that inspire us and have helped us in this journey. I also believe that our family, one of our favorite family saints is Saint Therese, and she's very well known in faith for her little way and the way she lived and the way she loved God and her simplicity and desire for holiness, the way she loved and expressed herself. So I think for our family, that's been a special saint that we love reading about and has inspired us. So I know it's inspired my motherhood journey, and now I feel like it was nice choosing that name for our podcast
And
in the
since we're
sense.
talking about the name, do you want to share what our three values or core values of this podcast would be? And the reason why I'm asking is because I think it's important for us to let it be known that everything that we talk about here is most likely, or for the most part, going to revolve um, around these three values.
Yeah, so we decided that we wanted to make this podcast and focus on the main values in our family, which is faith, family, and simple living, which is kind of our lifestyle and how we desire to live our life and our family life. So we hope that
Mm.
that can bless other families. I don't know if you want to share a little bit of us as a family, like any little cool facts.
Um, well, I think if we go over the three values and then, just kind of like touch on each one of them,
Mm-hmm.
we would talk about our family and who we are, and
Mm-hmm.
we could talk about that for hours. But that's not what we're gonna do here in any of our episodes. We're gonna try to keep them, I guess, anywhere between 20-30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The point is for us to connect as a marriage, because creating and doing these kind of things, you and I connect.
Yeah.
Our souls connect, and I think that's the main thing about all of this. But if we talk about faith, family, and simple living, faith, we both had an encounter with Jesus. We
Mm-hmm.
have a life before Jesus and a life after
Yes.
Jesus, and we would never go back.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus has been the best thing that has ever happened to us, and I could talk about it for days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yes, that's our most important value. The it is what we want to leave our kids with. When we're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that I want them. I want them to know that Jesus loves them, and I'm gonna do everything I possibly can in my life so that they know that we have a Father in heaven and that He loves us, and that He loves them. So yes, faith is definitely there. Um, Family, yeah. Well, we have four kids, and then very soon, I guess in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have number five.
Great timing to start a
Great
podcast.
timing to start. Well, yeah, and we had to. This time with this new baby has made us um, rethink. Go back to square one. When it comes to dreams, what are we gonna do? What do we want from life? As we have more kids, everything changes, and I feel like the more kids we have, the closer we get to um, the desiring the things that our soul is desiring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just how I feel. So yeah, family. We're
Family.
big. Everything we do is focused around family. I do have to say no to myself a lot. I have so many things I want to do, so many places I want to visit, so many stadiums around the world that I want to go to. And right now I have to say no to myself because we're a family and we're a big family. And there's no way that I'm buying 7 tickets to go to Spain anytime soon, especially being in that airplane for 8 hours or 9 hours. No way. So yeah, so everything we do is focused on family, and our third value being simple living. Um, I I've always desired peace. I've always wanted to be in peace. And in my later years, or in my, I guess, for the past 10 years, that I've been reading a lot of books that kind of like feed my soul, most of them mention the word simplicity and living a simple life. And again, we can talk about this subject for hours, which is why it's one of our values. We're constantly going to be talking about it. But now in our marriage, we're constantly looking for simplicity, because if there's one thing that I've learned is that if you want clarity in your life, seek simplicity. And it's just, the less things you have to worry about, the um the more clarity you're going to have, especially around big decisions. So, simple living, I want our kids, or we want our kids to have a simple life. Um, there's just so many things in the world that we can get distracted by. And I think, seeking a simple life is just one of the best gifts you can give to yourself.
Yes, I agree. Like, I think there's different perspectives maybe of simple living, but I think we relate it is like to peace, like searching, seeking that peace in our home, in our family life. And simple living has given us that. And when that peace is troubled, we know it's because there's too much going on, or there's, like you said, we get distracted by the world, and the world is consistently trying to feed us more and more. And if we just simplify our lives and our family and our home, we'll realize that at home there's already so much treasure, there's so much to grow, there's so much to live, so our children, we have 4 kids, there's so much value in simplicity, in just seeing their smiles and hugs and kisses and reading them a story, in making a meal and having a dinner together or breakfast, or just going outside in the morning in the backyard and listening to the birds. And the world's just feeding us like we have to do so much every day. And it's a gift to teach them a life of simple living, to see that value. And I think we dream of that. We dream that because it happened to us, right? We fell into that trap. And it's a consistent trap every day that you're battling. And it's, how can we battle this and like just have peace today, have a simple life, and enjoy this treasure that we have at home. Mm-hmm. But it's hard.
Well, you have to be intentional
You have
about
to be
it.
Intentional.
Because I think that just like any other, just like an addiction, you have to be intentional, and not just when you decide to quit, but you have to be intentional every day. You have to be intentional every day. And same thing with living a simple life, or just avoiding busyness. We're talking, or you and I have been reading this book by Matthew Kelly called Slowing Down to the Speed of Joy. And my God, has it been a beautiful thing to do together.
Yes, we'll link that book below. Any books we mention and stuff, we'll start linking them below our videos and podcasts, so you guys can.
We'll talk a lot about Matthew Kelly, as he is my favorite author. Mm-hmm. I went on a pilgrimage with him, and it was one of those things that, when you see someone, and the way I see it is like I saw like an angel, and because he has been to me, an angel is a messenger from heaven, and that's what he is to me. He's brought me the message from God. And anyways, so these books, Slowing Down to the Speed of Joy, I think that it is transforming our lives, because it has opened our eyes to the fact that busyness is not your friend, and that we just for some reason, humanity is just so busy. You talk to any of us and we talk about our lives, and whoever's listening to us is going to say this is a very busy person. And we can talk a lot about that, but again, just like with any other addiction, if we want to live uh, a more intentional life, we have to begin each day knowing that we have to fight the our inclination to be busy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that I love doing with you and the kids, and is just being in a space like this one without all the cameras and microphones, of course, but a place with a nice carpet, and where we're all just sitting on the carpet. The kids are maybe doing a puzzle or just doing something, and for some reason they're very quiet doing it, and you and I are just kind of like talking about different things. And I've learned that is called timelessness, carefree timelessness. There's nothing on the schedule, there's nothing that you have to rush to. You're just there enjoying who you are. You're at home with who you are. And those moments are so rare, because we always have a phone, we always have a computer, we always have somewhere we have to go to very fast, very quick,
Or answer a message,
or answer a
or
message. Yeah, just things like that. So these moments of carefree timelessness is a treasure that we have to be intentional about, that we have to set time apart for that. I've learned that it doesn't just happen. You can't just say, hey, from 2 to 4, we're going to have some carefree timelessness. It doesn't work like that. You have to schedule 3 or 4 hours with your family. Let that be on a Saturday, on a Sunday, or in an afternoon where there is no schedule, there's nothing that you have to rush to. And somewhere in between those 3 or 4 hours, there's going to be a space of about 15 to 20 minutes where you just feel at peace. And everyone around you feels the same way. There's no fighting, there's no screaming between the kids. For some reason, it's something that kind of like just takes over. And I don't know. I always share that with people that tell me that they're living a busy life or that they're overwhelmed.
which for some families that could sound like really boring. But if you really experience it and you're living such a fast life, like you'll realize like it has so much value just slowing down. And we're actually gifting our kids a lot more, I think, than rushing them and doing something. I know it's important to be outdoors a lot. That's good too. I mean, we try to do that regardless in a simple way in our backyard, trying to do activities with them and things like that. But what you're talking about, just being in the carpet and like being present, I think it also has to do with being present, and then seeing our presence and seeing a mom and dad and just being together as a family. It's like all comes together as a gift. And being able to listen to each other, because that's another thing. When you're going at a fast pace, you can't really listen. I'm not listening to you, you're not listening to me, we're not listening to the kids because everyone's just rushing to get somewhere. And then when we get to the location, it's like everyone's apart at the same time. But when we're home and we have this careless free time and we're intentional, conversations also come up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's listening and there's peace. And it's also teaching our children that it's okay to slow down, to take time to rest, to have careless free time, to listen to their heart, their soul, their family. So, going back also to faith and family and what this podcast is about, to probably close up soon. But I think that faith is also like one of the top things of our family life. And I think that's why it's also going to be part of this project, and because it really does affect everything we do as parents with our children, our way of living, how we love our children, how we ask forgiveness, how we want to teach them about God's love, generosity, kindness, all these values that come with our faith, and the importance of their soul and heaven, and all these conversations that come up in our home because of us encountering Jesus in our marriage, and how God's love has transformed our lives. And I think that's so important, because I think it's like one of the reasons why we also decide to be present, to homeschool, to take time for them, because we want to plant into their souls. And that's one of our priorities. Also, family. There's so much we can talk about family and ways of living and ideas and creativity and activities. Um, so I think it'll be fun. I think this will be fun. And I think this is a good first episode to kind of share like our core values of what you will find with us in a family's little way. So faith, family, simple living with Louis and Ivana.
Yeah, we never mentioned our names, so we never
This is
introduced
funny.
ourselves. But it's part of it. This is not. It's not just episode one. It's also the first time that we ever do something like this. I think that we're already having fun doing it. I love the
Yeah.
detail of the light turning off in the middle of
Yes.
the episode. And things may change. Maybe the look of the set may change a little bit. We just wanted to take that first step. Start. We just wanted to start. This is something that is in our hearts, that we're going to have lots of fun doing, and that I know for a fact that if we share what God has done in our family, in our lives, ultimately we're just gonna be sharing God's message, which is what's important. It's not about you, or it's not about me, or about the way we live our lives.
Mhm.
It's more about just sharing our testimony, what God has done in us, and what He can do in anyone. So
In any family, yeah.
any family. So yeah, I think that kind of like wraps it up. Um, there's so many topics that we have thought of. When it comes to those three values, we're going to talk about homeschooling. We're going to talk about um, having 4 kids, now having 5 routines. We're going to be talking about how hard it is to have a big family. We're going to talk about the things that you have to give up, the things that you have to say no to. It's just,
Marriage life.
in marriage life, because everything is very different. We are a different family, and we love being a different family. And we don't do it in an intentional way, like I want to be different. No, it's just that when we start living the truths that we've learned, or that we've come across, you know we start making different decisions. And when I talk about different, I mean different from the world, which it's a great thing to
and
be different.
and that we know our goal, once we encounter God's love, once we have this connection, and we meet Jesus and we decide to follow him as a family, we are also called to do the same with our children, teach them about his love, and plant those seeds so that they can go and live their story that Jesus has for them, their mission here, and help them seek heaven and the kingdom of God. And that's kind of like the ultimate goal here, like that we can love each other, be generous, kind, and become a better version of ourselves, our marriage, and help our children become the children that God dreams them, the humans that God dreams them to be, and to help them desire heaven, you know.
Yes, we are not a perfect family, and you're gonna find that out very quickly.
Sorry is like the most popular word in this house.
Yeah,
Every single night.
we apologize every single day, every single
Especially
night.
with this fifth pregnancy, I'm apologizing like every single hour.
Thank you very much for being here. Truly appreciate your presence. May God bless you, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.